Mickey, what's happening, my man?
Hey, what's up?
You ready for the show's coming up, man? The show's coming up.
Yes, it is.
It's
It
wild, right?
it is. It is very wild. It's unreal. It's surreal, and I'm 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 looking forward to it.
It's a lot of emotion to shove through that little Viper Room door. I always say it's a lot of emotions, especially with a reunion like this, that you have to fit in that small space. It's a lot to manage.
Yeah, yeah, it is. But we'll pull it through. I mean, we're gonna play our music.
Yeah, yeah. And like I said, I remember you were one of the first bands that formed as we formed down there in '88, and just seeing you, and I had never seen anything like it before. And as we've talked, I've come to realize that you hadn't seen anything like that before. That was something that just formed with things you liked, Mandy liked, Stacy liked, Fly liked, and you yourself were probably surprised by the sound. And what do you think that sound was that defined that first lineup that really set the template for the whole thing?
Um, I think it was definitely drums, my guitar, the picking, and Mandy's voice. I mean, the bass was important too, but that was the template of our sound and how we wanted to sound for ourselves.
And do you remember the first time you met Mandy, where you met him and how that came about?
Yeah, yeah. I had been down in LA for like a month, and then I decided to go to the whiskey for the very first time in my life. That was in September '88, and I went to Whiskey Bozo Jam, No Bozo Jam, and as soon as I walked that door through the club, I mean I walked maybe 6 to 10 feet, and then Mandy Fly was there. They came up to me. Mandy says, "You a guitar player?" I says, "Yeah." I said, "Yes, I am." He said, "Do you want to be? We want to start a band called the Glamour Punks." It just hit me like a ton of brick because, and it was like this flash moment because that's what I wanted to do. I want to incorporate thrash, punk, and heavy with the glam, but I hadn't phrased it, like Mandy did. It was
It
hard
was
because
amazing.
like
And it was balls of steel to name the band the Glamour Punks, because it would almost be like in 1955 naming your band rock and roll, I thought. You know what I mean?
so that was it, and we were just the three of us. We jammed as a trio.
Where did you jam? Do you remember where the first rehearsals took place?
No, no, I don't. All I know is I have this like Charvel guitar pickup, Charvel guitar with a Floyd, and I had this amp. I don't know, and I just ran through it.
Did you know right away there was a specialness? There was,
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. It was undeniable. We knew, and then we start writing songs in our apartment. We had an apartment called the Roach Motel, obviously,
where was the
and
Roach Motel? Where was the Roach Motel again?
it was on Leland Way.
Okay, okay. Wow.
Yeah, yeah. I will post a picture of that because Fly T Hooker took a picture recently, and I will put it in the Glamour Punks page to show everyone where was the Roach Motel. We have pictures of that. So we were living there. We would put the songs together and rehearse acoustically in the apartment. And I designed the very first flyer
Let's see
around
it.
October. I designed it. I drew the very first flyer.
Whoa.
Stacy was not in the band yet. Like Mandy knew Stacy because they were friends from high school. Decided to draw that because we needed the flyer. And Stacy just got in December. So from October, November, December, we would fly around the strip saying we're the fucking best band is going to be around, and Stacy wasn't here yet. It wasn't even there yet.
Was that scary? I've been in positions like that. Was that a little like, oh God, I hope this guy works?
Yeah, but we were cocky enough to think, it is going to work. So we were arrogant enough to think that, and then we picked up. I remember we picked up Stacy at LAX around Christmas, and then January we were out. We were out playing. Actually, no, January and February we were out like practicing. And we had our very first photo shoot, the famous first photo shoot.
Yeah, yeah.
And then March, I mean, after that, no Bozo Jams came on, and that's where we started to play, Bozo Jam, because it was the only place we didn't have to pay.
Right.
And it was those 20-minute spots we have. It was like Gladiator Night, like one band after the other. And then we started doing that for like months and months and months and months and months. So like almost close to a year. I don't know. Like we started to play from that time. And then, March 89 to, I would say 90. Yeah. Yeah. We played 1989. And then like some clubs would let us play. We didn't have to pay, like Exposure 54, English Acid would let us play longer sets. But we crafted our we crafted our sound and our act, I guess, doing no Bozo Jams. That's for sure.
Right,
That is for
right.
sure.
Remember the pizza
So,
in the Bozo Jams? They always had a little pizza and beer backstage. That was the big treat.
yeah. And not to forget the coconut teaser.
Exactly.
We would play there a lot. Sorry, I'm going through the page because I'm just trying to go historically
No,
over what.
no.
And this booklet, it's something that's got everything historically, from 89 till 91.
And that's something you put together right there, right?
90, yeah. I put it together. I sent it to my brother, and he put it together. And this is going to be sent to Rob Diaz for documentary. So there's stuff people will be able to see specifically.
You should sell that at the show. You should print that and sell that at the show. It'd be cool.
I guess when we get to that, it will get interested to get it in the booklet format and sell it.
And I think in that early days, being a bass player that's taking lessons, and I'm pretty fucking good at the bass. Like I love Stacy. I think that it gets overlooked. Like he was like I sometimes I get mad when people say this, but the Sid Vicious. He was so iconic and such a big part of the way he stood. I just remember his suspenders, his jacket, his bass playing. He was perfect. He was such a big part of that.
He was. I cannot deny that. Although I might point out his fingers. That's the one thing we didn't like. We really didn't like that. And we're like, how come this guy plays with his fingers? But he played the part. He sounded great. He looked great.
Yeah.
He got us the chicks, and it was just great.
Remember, he was dating Lorraine Lewis from Femme Fatale when we were
Yeah,
kids. That was
yeah,
crazy. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah.
That was wild. So, what was the first song you wrote? Do you remember the first song you guys wrote and the process?
I think the very first song we wrote was definitely Roach Motel, definitely Antisocial Child, definitely Hollywood Holocaust Babies, definitely Will You Be My Mother, because this is the and Punk's Not Dead, because those were the 5 songs we recorded as a first demo with Stacy. So we wrote those first and foremost, And for the Bozo Jams, we only had 20 minutes, so I think we played these 5 songs, and then I think at one point we had Nasty. But the first 5 songs, I can tell you it's those 5. That's for sure.
And how did you write them? What would happen? Who said let's write? What is it? The guitar? Is it a lyric? What goes on?
It, like I said, it was a magical process again. I cannot like understand. I have to really say that, because it was. It's either Mandy came up with lyrics and a melody line. I would write guitar over it. Fly would follow with his drumsticks, and but between me and Mandy, there was always this magic, like instant magic. Like even like I'm just making the point here. Like we wrote a new song that we're going to play at the show. We wrote it 3 years ago. It was a long process, but it was magical the whole time. Right. But what I'm saying is, me and Mandy, we have this thing, this co-writing, magic teamwork kind of stuff.
And you are very opposite people to me at the time. When I finally met you and talked to you, because Mandy was very boisterous and loud and punk rock, and you were wound tight at that time, which I like. You know what I mean? I think I was wound. You know, I mean, you weren't all Hollywood back then. You were so almost non-glamour punk. We used to use "don't be a glamour punk" as a term, because a glamour punk would be someone that would walk around an apartment building and pull a fire alarm at some girl's house for no reason. Literally, it became a term, but you were never like that. I remember.
I think a glamour punk also can be very antisocial at some matter. Like me and Fly were more like introverts, and we needed to retrieve. And I think being a glamour punk is also a lifestyle, and it's varied. You know, you can be as you know as introvert and retrieving, you know, kind of mode, as you can be extroverted and just you know, bringing chaos everywhere you go.
Yeah. If there was one song that defined the Glamour Punks, what do you think it would be? If you were like, I want to play someone, when someone goes, I want to hear your band, the Glamour Punks, your band from the Sunset Strip, what song do you play?
Bad attitudes.
It is pretty mean, isn't it?
Bad attitudes.
Yeah, that is a mean one.
Do what you want. Who cares? Say what you want. Who care? Be what you want. Who care? I just want to be me.
The timing
We
changes
got
are kind of cosmic. Yeah.
it's just, yeah. But that's my top. You know, that's the first thing that comes to my mind. You know, but yeah, I would say define the band. Yeah, bad attitude definitely for me.
You know, I'm looking at the set list, and I always remember Trauma in 208 because I lived in 208 and on Alta Vista. Yeah, I remember just the madness of us all living there. And I would say I always remember Mandy reading Stephen King's books, you know, and golfing, going, there's more to this guy than just being a glamour
Mm-hmm.
punk. So there
Mm-hmm.
was one. I started to see that other side of it. But that was just so cool. I mean, it couldn't be any more real. You wrote about, people always say they wrote about their day to day, but do you remember the story behind Trauma in 208?
Well, I think Mandy got into a fight with Punk Rock Dave. I don't know. Maybe I got it all wrong.
No, I think that's
Anyway,
it. Yeah.
that was it. Like this huge fight, that huge unlikely fight, because Punk Rock Dave was our fifth bro, and you know, he was very close to our entourage and our band,
Yeah.
and it was very unlikely that they would, you know, get at it. So it was worth writing a song.
Yeah.
That's where Mandy, you know, says, "I wish it didn't happen. It's never going to happen again." You know what I mean? Like Mandy also has this like very vivid way of expressing things, like straight to the point, but very, I don't know, it gets to you.
Oh, he is a street poet. I know that. I
He's
love
a
that
street, yeah,
term. A street
yeah,
poet, like
absolutely.
Bruce Springsteen is, Johnny Rotten is, Mandy is. He's up there. You know,
Yeah,
it's Axl Rose is. It's great. Yeah, he just expresses. There's nothing cliche. It's just what it is. You know what I
he's
mean?
got he's got his own style.
Yeah, and I think that rhythmicness from being a drummer, you know, it's just very special too.
Yes, absolutely. I think it played a definite role in his songwriting. I could tell you that, because it's the way he would also come up with melodies. It would be very percussive, which fitted perfectly with my style of picking and Fly's drumming. You know, so yeah, definitely.
What would you describe your style of picking as, and where did it come from? Where did it, that way? I remember. I mean,
I was totally clueless back then. Okay, like clueless about a lot of things, and one of the things I was clueless, it was about equipment, gear, uh, techniques, whatever. Like I was so not into that. Um, and it's just later on. It's just later on when I had to revisit the songs that almost 4 years ago. I had to write. We were writing a song, and I had to figure out, okay, how would Mick would play that song, and I had to revisit the other songs and realize where I played on the neck, where I played on the bridge with the strings, and I discovered that had this thing that made the percussive sound, and I didn't realize it was just very close to the bridge, almost, sitting sitting on the bridge with a lot of percussive stuff, and that's where I got the sound. So I would say, define today's Mickey's sound, it would be like if you mix Chuck Berry and I don't know, Dimebag Darrell.
I love it.
As far as as far as the crushing tone
Yeah.
but the rock and roll percussiveness of the 50s, 60s kind of stuff, I would say Chuck Berry versus slash Dimebag Darrell. That's what
I love that you're referring to yourself in third person as Mickey, because you do have to step outside. I know in Blackboard Jungle, I'm a way different bass player. And sometimes I can play, I'm like, wait, you don't want to, we like Hanoi Rocks, and you don't want to sound like Steve Harris, because I'm starting to make this sound like, because I can, where does this
exactly
sit? You know what I mean? Where does this,
exactly.
You're getting into galloping, paint a picture. I'm galloping like Steve Harris. I'm like, oh, pull back, and like almost dummy it down, pull it back to that mind.
Yeah, I had to figure out a way. Yeah, exactly. I had to figure out also what kind of pick I'm going to use this time. And I found I got a little secret. I will throw some of these at the show so people will find out, but I'll just say that I'm using Dunlop's Jazz 4 picks, but I do something special to it to be able to control the speed. But I'm not reinventing the wheel. I mean, Kirk Hammett had his own Jazz 4 picks out there, and there's a little dent in the middle, the top part, and I just made a deeper dent for my use. But the picking and also the strings, I had to figure out, okay, am I going to play heavier gauge string? And yes, I do. I play heavier gauge string that I used to. I used to play, I think, 10 to 52s. Now I'm playing 11s to 54. And that's where I get the sound, the stability, the sustained stability of when I play the chords and when I play the things. And the solos also sound more percussive on bigger strings. And also it limits me not to overdo it, because that wouldn't be cool.
Right.
For the Glamour Punks music.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. Do you remember when you guys started to get big? Because you were so much of a religion. I remember being so jealous. We had fans, but you guys, it was just a religious fervor. It was just throngs of people following you. It was like a cult. Do you remember? And what that? Because I remember you're not probably. I don't know if you had bands in high school that were popular, but that was really, you guys got really big, really fast.
Well, from what I remember, okay, no Bozo Jams. That's where I put my references as far as getting more and more popular, because at No Bozo Jams, you start the first time you play at 9:30, then you get 10 o'clock spot, then you get the 10:20 spot, then you get and then until we got the midnight spot, more people came to those No Bozo Jam. And then when we got to the midnight spot, which it's cool because in LA, like in other places, people have their blast on Friday and Saturday nights, but in Hollywood back then, it was Monday night at midnight. It was the fucking blast, the place to be. So
is anybody working this town? Like, God, yeah, it's crazy.
But when we got that 12 o'clock, like that midnight spot, we stayed there for a while on other Bozo Jams, and we got a lot bigger, and a lot more people came. And interestingly enough, September, I would say October 30th, when Dizzy joined the band. Like Stacy left around September 89, and Dizzy joined in October. Okay. And we did our first Bozo Jam with him, October 30th, 1989. That night was very special for two reasons. Like, we had Dizzy breaking in him for the first show. And then he had his crowd.
The Juicy Miss Lucy crowd, yeah.
It became like very huge. Now, at that point, Mandy started to get phone calls from the Roxy. I remember that. And then, the people from the Roxy would tell Mandy, well, we would offer you this. We would offer you this headline spot, but you have to pay for that. And then Mandy would respond, well, you know what? We'll let Louis do it. We'll let Louis makes his money on the No Bozo jams. And he would hang up the phone. And then at one point, we started to have shows at the Roxy because we were too big to do No Bozo jams. And then we did a first Roxy gig with Dizzy, and Dizzy came with awesome ideas. He came with band backdrops, these huge backdrops. He came with the idea of having punk rock Dave sing in a cage. And we passed from playing No Bozo jams, English Acid, Exposure 54, Red Light District, Coconut Teaser, to headlining shows at the Roxy.
Yeah, I remember that.
And that's when we got bigger.
Yeah. Dave in the cage and the sign, sit down. It's very Alice Cooper.
Yeah, and Dizzy had that part of showmanship, bigger production stuff, and he had a clear-cut ability to come up with writing anthems, and that would fit perfectly with our formula, was more hit songs. So those meshed together was just awesome. He came up with great stuff, and that's when we got bigger as a local band.
And like you say, like nothing existed. There were pieces that existed like you guys, but you think of like, I always wonder, what was it like when Motley Crue hit? I know they took from Wasp, Alice Cooper, but nothing existed like Motley Crue when they hit the whiskey. Nothing existed like the Glamour Punks altogether. There was no band that, you'd see bands on the, they're like Skid Row, they're like Poison, but nothing existed like you guys. Every little thing added up to a completely original universe.
I believe it was because we had a definite vision of what we didn't want to be and a clear vision of what it should be. I give Dizzy's example again. Like, he heard of the Glamour Punks when he was still in Vegas, and then when he heard about us, he set up to go to Hollywood to eventually join the Glamour Punks. He was very focused about that. And even I'll slide in Schizo here, because he was in Tommy and Love Tribe in New York, and when he heard that I was gone, he was set up to play in the Glamour Punks too. So those people who were really like focused, that's what made us different. And also, we played in a period of time where the scene was dying. The post Guns N' Roses scene was dying. And since the scene was dying, band would just fucking bend up backwards to get a record deal. They would fucking suck up to people and please, please, please. And we were the total, and people were, and bands were a lot of crowd pleasers. They wanted to please the crowd and make, become more popular. And we were the fucking total opposite. We would come on stage going like this, singing "fuck you," everyone. And that's what made the difference, because we were ourselves. Yeah, we had an attitude against the music industry, but we wanted to be successful and sign like everyone else. But I think that's what made us different. We were really not crowd pleasers or people pleaser or industry pleasers. We wanted to play the rules. We wanted to play the game by our rules. And I think that's what made the difference.
Yeah, I agree. I literally remember seeing, I don't know if you know Steve Jones at one of your shows from the Sex Pistols, bobbing his head, watching you. Do you remember that? He came to see you.
I've heard about it.
That blew my mind. Like, wow, this is...
Like, I vividly remember the guys from Dawkins, like the bass player and the drummer. I remember them coming up to us and say, "Hey, you guys are cool." And I remember also Tim Skold, when he was in Shotgun Messiah, we became friends for a little while, and he was very interested my talents, you know, so to speak. But you know, like yeah, I got to meet a couple of cool guys like that that were really appreciate what we did.
And even Love Hate, the coolest, biggest band in Hollywood, the next Guns N' Roses, took you under their wing. And it always, you know, crazy accomplished musicians, you know what I mean? Love Hate, the highest level. And they were like, this is our baby brother band. We're going to mentor and record and work with this band. And they were the kings. They got Columbia Records out of the Bozo Jam. And they took you under their wing to make you the next.
And you see, that's the thing I'm reluctant to, you know, bring up. Oh, and we were so close with the Love 8 guys because let me tell you, other people telling us, you know, like you, and I appreciate that. You have to understand, like, when me and Fly, again, me, Fly, and Mandy, the three of us as a trio, that's when we, you know, I mean, Mandy knew Jizzy already, and the guys of the band, Mandy knew where they were partying down at their
Soul
Red
House.
Room. Yeah, yeah,
Soul House in
Soul
downtown
House.
LA.
So the very first stuff we did as a trio was to hang out at the Soul House a couple of times and get to know these guys. And these guys were really like having a hard time getting by. We remember that. And then I remember, you know, seeing them at the Bozo Jams, completely blown away, you know, watching this band being iconic in their own way and then slowly becoming close with them. We saw them getting signed, we saw them going on tour, we hung out. When they would get back from they were breaking from their tour, AC/DC Skid would take me on, and they, like, we really liked them and they really liked us. And it was an organic thing, you know. And of course, I'll give credit to Johnny again. Like, Johnny made our best sounding. He produced our best sounding demo, like, ever. You know, some of the songs on Spotify, I'll mention "Nasty," "Dance," saying, like, he did a killer job because he understood. Johnny understood that the Glamour Punks sound came out of, you know, Fly's drum, my percussive picking, and Mandy's voice. Like, and I'm not underestimating the bass, but like, it was really what the sound was all about. Johnny knew about that. Um, uh, very, very encouraging news to bring up. Johnny got a hold of me a couple of days ago, and he asked me to send a video of me playing guitar. Like, okay. And then he got back to me and said, well, you know, I want to produce your sound for your rehearsal and do the sound for the show.
So he's gonna produce a song.
Well, he's going to produce, like, he wants to make sure I get the best guitar sound for the show at rehearsal.
Right.
And then he's offering to be our Sandman for our set at the Viper Room.
Wow, it's huge. That's huge.
I you know, like, that just right there blows my mind. Like, having talked, like when I left LA, you know, he's the last guy I called before I left Hollywood. Because, you know, I wanted to go back. You know, and I remember bawling my eyes out. Johnny, I'm getting, like, this was after the Vince Neil video. I was like, Johnny, I'm getting no contract, no calls. There's nothing going on. I'm going back, and I was crying. And then he was like, "Are you quitting, man? You're quitting?" I'm like, "I'm not quitting, but it's too hard." And that's the last guy I talked to. But then when we talked to each other 2 days ago, it's like the time hasn't. He was like, "Hey, bro," you know, and we were connected, like nothing happened.
Yeah.
I was just blown away. I'm just blown away. Like, there's nothing I can say more than I'm just fucking humbly, like, blown away by that.
Do you remember? I get it. Do you remember? Like, if you guys were Anarchy, they were like heavy metal voodoo. Me and Jamie talked. They almost were like voodoo with the cross. Like, they seemed like this, like, spiritual voodoo darkness. It it was a voodoo, the beats, the bass, why do you think it just seemed out of a like rock and roll, but voodoo. There was some voodoo about them of some sort.
Yeah, and they have this conqueror spirit, that was really about them, like fighting and conquering.
Yeah.
And honestly, they were honest with us. Like they would tell us when we sucked. They were telling us when we did good things. They were always honest, and we appreciated that. So when we can tell the real shit to each other, that's when you get to appreciate
Yeah.
more the relationship.
Yeah. You were talking about the Vince Neil video. Talk about that. How did that come out? You were in the You Can Party But Your Friend Can't Come video. I remember that blew my mind.
Yeah. Well, this was after Glamour Punks. This was after Bad Blood. Um, I even played for a while in the band called Rough Justice, and that was after that. There was nothing going on in my career, and at one point, I got connected through Charisse Neal. At the time, she was Vince's wife, and Charisse had a sister called Shanae Rudell. She's a model, and then I used to see Charisse from time to time, whenever. And then one day she said, "Well, you know what? My sister Shanae really digs you. You want to have a date with her?" And I answered, "Oh, let me check my agenda." I'm just kidding. What I did is I did, okay, I'll have a date with Shanae. And then I had a date with Shanae, and we went to Newport Beach, And as we were driving in her Jeep, she gets a phone call, and then she turns up to me. She said, "Do you want to be Vince's guitarist for his video tomorrow afternoon?" I'm like, "Yeah, dude, I'll be Vince's guitar player for a video." And then I found out about that song. Then I learned the solo because I had to play Tommy Shaw's solo. So I learned his solo. Then the next day we went to Burbank in some airplane hangar, this huge place, and they had this huge stage set up. And then the whole video came the whole day, and we did the whole thing, and that's how I got into the video.
This Hollywood life, things like that only happened back. Just who could have thought?
And it's funny because Shanae ended up dating Vicky Fox. That, I mean, like, happened between me and Shanae. We just hung out one day, and then when we went to the videos on the set. They were talking a lot to each other, which I didn't care, and it's interesting because after the video, like a month after, it was Easter or something. I got to eat at Vince's place, and he invited me to Easter dinner or something. And then he was talking, and then we sat by his pool, and he was talking about making a band. He was not certain yet, but he was like, "Well, if I was to do a band, would you be interested and stuff?" I said, "Well, yeah, well, of course I wouldn't be interested. Who wouldn't be? It would be an honor for me." And but I remember what I said to him. I said, "I would make sure I play in your band. We would do stuff that your other guys would regret having you firing you." I told him. I remember. I said, "We're gonna do stuff. The other three guys in Motley are gonna be fucking regretting it." That's
Cool.
all I said to him. And he offered me the position, and I declined it.
Why?
I declined it.
What made you decline it? Do tell.
Because I knew Vince would get back with Motley one day. And that, nobody understood that back then. Nobody.
Yeah.
Nobody when you're a fan or you're on the other side of the fence, you don't understand that, Vince is Motley Crue. Even if he's fired, he's still Motley Crue. And the fans, got the reason out of the whole thing. And I knew Vince would get back to his band, and I just didn't want to end up being a guy that nobody cared.
Yeah.
A couple of years with Vince Neil's band,
Yeah.
Steve Stevens was already in the band. Vicky was on drum. Robbie the bass player, and they wanted a rhythm guitar player, and they got John Marshall for it, which he did a great job. But I didn't want to be this one guy that played for a couple of years in Vince's band. I didn't want to be that.
I get it.
And people might not understand that, especially the part when I would explain, but you don't get it. Vince gonna get back with Motley one day. I got insulted. I got treated like a fool, you know, but I don't care. I'm right, because Vince is back with Motley.
Yeah. Wow. Now, you know, speaking of that, do you remember when Motley and Don't Go Away Mad? I thought you might have, they were biting the whole Glamour Punks look in your look, the way they shaved their heads. Like, they definitely knew, everybody in LA knew who the Glamour Punks were, and your influence visually as well as musically was swallowing so many people, so many glam bands and good bands. And so, but you guys, the influence was insane on the Sunset Strip and beyond. What do you think? Did you see that? Know that?
Yeah, and I remember being in lip service one day, and came in calling herself Motley Crue stylist.
Okay.
You know, she just came. I just saw that person. Hi, how you doing? You know, and I had that day, my hair was like that, with shaved, and I did, and then the next thing you know,
it was okay, good, because I was like, that's Mickey's fucking hair. They're biting that evolution of the Glamour Punks, but and then not only Motley Crue, but younger bands, our peers. I remember Dizzy had the dots, and you start to see people draw things similarly with the dots on their faces, and it was just the influence started to become, bands got popular that were emulating you.
Yeah. I just want to make something clear, because I don't want to get sued by the Motley Corporation. I'm just saying that, you know, when you're out of ideas, you know, you hire stylists, and that's their job, you know. So it's flattering.
Totally.
Best. Well, thank you guys. Thank you, Nikki and Tommy, for doing that, and you know.
Well, that was what was cool about Motley Crue, is they always had an ear to the street. When you're a kid, when Hanoi Rocks was the cool band, Peter or Payne, they bite on Hanoi Rocks.
Yeah.
When Guns N' Roses is cool.
Yeah.
They bid a little bit on Biker Leather. Totally cool. Like you said, it's totally cool.
Nikki got a few minutes with Dizzy at one point. They hung out a bit. Dizzy was really happy about that. It was cool.
It's cool. They were always influenced by I think that's the problem now, is that they're not influenced by, you know, what's a little bit, I mean, now it's just, I don't even know what I'm talking about. But what about those other bands that were influenced, the other glam bands that started just being completely influenced by you? There was a slew of teaser bands that were influenced.
Well, I know what I've noticed is when we start playing, and other bands would, you know, play before or after us, I would see bands that usually didn't, bands that were very polite to their audience, starting to fuck you them too, you know, like in we don't care about you, fuck you. And then at the end of the song, they would say, well, you know, it's not true, we care about you guys, like that kind of lame stuff.
Yeah.
I don't, you know, and I don't want to name any bands that would copycat us. I mean, they everybody knows who they are, and again, it's flattering.
Totally, it was cool.
Flattering.
There was I said, a lot of I said there's a lot of Crayola colors that started to float around you. Lots of colors of bands that would play with you and emulate you. Just all these different.
I think it was the Juicy Miss Lucy thing that came out with the colors, because when we got Dizzy into the band, he had this red hair, and we said, that's got to go, dude. It's got to go to black, and your pink and fucking green shit, green neon has to go. And So yeah, I get it. I get what you're saying, you know. And you have to remember, there was the Zeros. The Zeros were around.
You're right.
So the colorful stuff, you know, came from the Zeros. Tricks They had these, different kind of leather colors.
You're
I
right.
mean,
You're right. It was a cool scene. It was a cool scene
it
of
was
things that
good.
were.
It was an end of an era scene. Yeah, definitely. It was a surviving scene, but it was really cool.
You're right.
I'm
That's well put. Like Tricks, the Zeros, bands that never completely made it, but at that end there was this a movement. You know what I mean?
Yep,
It was
yeah,
cool. You're right. That's well put. Let's talk about the new song you're writing with Mandy, "Rest in Power."
yeah. Um, that came up 3 years ago. First, almost four now, almost 4 years ago. First, I reconnected with Mandy 4 years ago.
How did that happen? Let's talk about that.
I found him. I don't know, had his phone number or something. I said we hooked up on the phone, and
Okay.
then I said, what are you up to? And then he came up with this idea. He said, "Well, there's this guy Blaine who's doing he's doing a remake of Will You Be My Mother? Do you want?" And I said I would sing vocals. Would you mind put guitars on it? I said, "Well, sure." So I recorded some guitars. I sent them to them, and they loved it. And Mandy, we did this remake. Um, and then thanks, Blaine. And then after that, I said, "You know what, Mandy? Maybe we should write a song about the guys that are not there anymore. Because they were part two, and it would be a way to honor them." And so I came up with the idea, I didn't know what it would be, and Mandy came up with the "Rest in Power." I had some lyrics too, but he did. And then he came up with a melody line, and he sent me the melody line, and then I wrote guitar over it, and I recorded the first version. I slid it there. It stayed there for, like I said, a couple of years down the line, and then when the reunion show got officialized, I'm going real quick in the history. Then we sat down again and finished the song. Now we have a final version now that we're going to rehearse and play for the first time, and it's really a song to honor Dizzy, Punk Rock Dave, Schizo, these guys that took the torch and made the best that they could with the Glamour Punks.
And that's great. And now Allie's playing with you, who I love. I know, Allie is there's no realer, more to the bone guy to me that should be doing this than him, other than Stacy. How did Allie come about playing bass on the show?
Sorry?
How did Allie come about being the bass player for the show? Because I love Allie. I don't think there's a better choice on the planet than Allie.
He was Mandy's choice
Okay.
because I'm not there yet. So he knew him. Yeah, done stuff with him. Ali played with a lot of the end. He played a lot of on the demos the Glamour Punks did, and so he was Mandy's first choice. And all I knew about him is that he was a very badass player, and he had some sort of bad reputation. I said, "Oh, great, that's the guy we need in."
Totally. He's perfect. He's perfect. I mean,
We need, as far as the beast, good solid bass player we need for that show. Then and then I got to meet him. Like on video chat, we got acquainted to each other.
yeah.
And the thing I said to him, our first video chat went something like this: like, forget about the Glamour Punks for a second. We know who the fuck you are, and you're gonna find out who the fuck I am. And we just talk personal shit for an hour, like, who is he, what did he do, blah 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 blah. And then at the end, we talk about the Glamour Punk stuff, and it went great because I told him, I said, what matters to me, you and I get along.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because me and Dizzy had this antagonistic, relationship, and Stacy and I, it was okay. But I said, no, I want to experience when I get along with the bass player this time.
Yeah.
Like, without a doubt, I need to feel confident that there's not going to be shit between the two of us. And we hit it off, and it went great. And now we're fucking tight, and looking forward to jam with him. And it's great to have it him on board with us and taking the task very seriously.
Yeah.
He rehearses a lot. He asks questions when he need, what kind of bass should I use and that kind of stuff. Like, he's really into it, and we're looking forward to have him play with us.
I love it. He's a big dog. He's one of my favorite people. He's a big dog. I love it.
I can't wait to rip that stage with him, man.
Yeah, it's gonna be good. So you're excited, man. It's coming up.
Yep, yep. I'm rehearsing the set almost every day. Like, I rehearse the song once a day. It's either I'll practice either the rhythms or I'll play the whole songs, or I'll play the solos. I rehearse every single day.
Wow. And let's talk about finding Fly. Fly T, who rumors were he's dead. He's living on a colony in Mars. All this stuff. Like, how did Fly come about?
Well, we just posted did this one post around Christmas on the Glamour Punks official Facebook page, and 24 hours later, we found him and he was on board. As easy as that. And it was funny because for years we were like racking our brain, like, how are we gonna find him? Should we hire a detective? Should we do this? Should we do that? And then at one point I got fucking fed up of waiting around, after whatever, like waiting around. And last Christmas I went, okay, that's it. I'm gonna get access to the Facebook official page as an administrator. And then I posted one thing, and then we found Fly.
Wow. That's incredible.
Then he sent us some videos of him playing, and I was like, fucking dude, like I wouldn't have anyone else backing my ass for that gig. He's fucking thundering as he was back then.
You talk
I mean, Flight the Hooker is the fucking Glamour Punk backbone. There's no doubt about that. He's the star of the band on that drum, man.
You were talking about sending Bo that book. Is there a documentary you're going to do, or maybe you don't want to talk about it? I don't know. Are you going to do a documentary?
I know that Rob Diaz is interested in. Well, he's actually working on it. Doing a documentary. He's doing that for Mandy, first and foremost. And I got a hold of him because he wants to interview all of us separately, and as much as he wants to get as much footage as he can the week we're going to be together in LA at rehearsal and then the show. And I'm going to send him that booklet, which documents everything from December '88 to November '90, where I played my last show with the Glamour Punks.
Why don't you show a few pages of that book and what they mean to you? Is there any pages that mean a lot, or
like I said, I showed the first flyer, and then our first photo shoot, and then that photo shoot we had with Dizzy. That's a significant photo shoot because that's when we had management interest. We were getting to that stage of getting interest to have like a manager and get us record deal and that kind of stuff. That's just really cool.
So is there anything else before we wrap up that you want to talk about or say to people? I mean, it's going to be magical, man.
Well, yes, doing it to speak for me, but I know on the behalf of the band, like, we're doing it to celebrate Glamour Punk's music. And that's the whole point. We're going there to play the best show we ever played in our entire life. We're there to play the music, to honor the music, and to give back to the fans, what they really wanted, but it's a celebration first and foremost. It's going to be a celebration of our music. And we're so grateful that it's getting to that point now where a lot of people are involved, a lot of people are interested, a lot of people are coming. And there's side projects related to that. So we're just really grateful, but it's about the music. It's not about the personas anymore. It's not about, um, cocky, arrogant. We still are, we have a lot of fucking angst to definitely express on that evening or through our music, but it's the music first and foremost.
Awesome. Yeah. It's who would have thought that we'd get this? It's almost like a life do-over that we all get this chance to, for one night, not a tour, one night to get everybody in one room. And
Yeah, I've
know,
been dreaming about this for years, and I would talk sometime to Mandy about it. And would say, yeah, and now we're doing it. It's been a dream of mine for ages to be able to do this one show, and now it's happening, and I'm very, very happy and grateful. So
I'm so
mostly,
I'm so excited, man, because your era of Glamour Punks is my era of Glamour Punks. I mean, I can't wait, man. Can't wait to see that first song.
I can't wait also to be with you guys. Meet everybody and just hang out with everyone.
Yeah,
That I'm looking forward to that.
that's gonna be awesome. Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Mickey. Love you, man, and we're gonna be hanging. We're gonna be hanging soon.
Thank you so much, Britt. You're an awesome guy, man. You're
Thank
doing
you.
a fucking great job.
Thank
I
you.
really enjoyed doing that with you.
Thank you. Say
You
goodbye to
you fucking
everybody.
rule, man. Huh? You
Say goodbye
fucking
to
rule, man.
everybody. Thank you. Say
Hey,
goodbye to everybody, and then I'll say goodbye to you. Stay so I can say goodbye.
everyone, take care. Be careful out there. And for those who can see, those who can come see us, we'll see you on June 1st. And those who can't, we're gonna make sure the set is gonna be filmed and broadcast right after on YouTube as soon as the set is over. All right, so hang in there, and thank you for listening and enjoy our music to this day.
All right. Thank you. All right.